In the early morning mist of 1917, the fields of Europe were silent for only a moment. Then came the thunder, a sound that would define a generation. Artillery shells screamed through the sky, men shouted over the roar, and the ground itself trembled. This was not just war. It was the birth of something the world had never seen. Industrial destruction on a scale so vast it erased faces, names, and even memories. For every soldier who returned home, there were countless others who vanished without a trace. No body, no grave, no final goodbye. They were called the missing, but among them were stories, strange, haunting, and deeply human, of men who seemed to disappear into history itself. The call to war. When the war began in 1914, boys from farms, factories, and schools across America, Britain, France, and beyond rushed to enlist. They marched with pride, believing the fight would be short and glorious. But the Great War quickly became a nightmare of mud, gas, and steel. The front lines, from the Somme to Verdun, were nothing but trenches carved into the earth. Between them lay the no-man's land, a wasteland of shattered trees, twisted metal, and silent ghosts. Many soldiers never even made it to the other side. Artillery obliterated entire units, leaving no remains. Some were buried alive by collapsing trenches. Others vanished into craters so deep they became their graves. Letters from the front. In a small town in Pennsylvania, a young woman named Eleanor received a letter from her fiancé, Private James Holloway. "Don't worry, Ellie. The war will be over by Christmas," he wrote. "I'll bring you back a medal and a story worth telling." But Christmas came and went. No medal, no letter, no word. When the war ended in 1918, Eleanor waited by the train station every day for 2 years, hoping to see his face in the crowd of returning soldiers. But James Holloway never came home. His name was later engraved on a monument for the missing, one of thousands. The fields that still whisper, decades later, farmers in France and Belgium still plow up relics, bullets, helmets, even bones rising from the soil. The earth continues to return what war buried. Archaeologists call it the Iron Harvest. But among the rusted weapons and decayed uniforms, there are sometimes haunting discoveries, full platoons still standing where they fell, entombed by mud and time. Each unearthed soldier tells a silent story. A rosary clutched in his hand, a photograph in his breast pocket, a wedding ring engraved with initials no one remembers. These are the ghosts of the Great War, men frozen in history, forgotten by the living but remembered by the land, the Phantom Battalion. Among the strangest tales is that of the Norfolk Regiment, a British unit that disappeared during the Gallipoli campaign in 1915. Witnesses reported seeing the soldiers march into a low-lying mist and never emerge. When the fog lifted, there were no bodies, no weapons, nothing. For decades, the story became legend. The battalion that vanished. Some claimed the men were captured. Others believed they were obliterated by shell fire. But locals swore the soldiers were swallowed by the clouds themselves, as if the earth took them back. It wasn't until the 1960s that partial remains were discovered, far from their last known position. Even then, only fragments of the truth could be confirmed. The rest remains shrouded in mystery. The Lost Americans. For the United States, which entered the war in 1917, the losses were staggering. Over 116,000 Americans died, and more than 4,000 were listed as missing in action. At Argonne, the largest U.S. battle of the war, entire companies vanished under relentless shelling. Rain turned trenches into rivers of blood and mud. Identification tags were lost, burned, or destroyed. To this day, the U.S. Defense Department continues to search for missing World War I soldiers. Each year, remains are recovered, identified, and finally laid to rest with full honors, sometimes over a century after they fell. The archaeologists of memory. In recent decades, Historians and forensic teams have begun uncovering mass graves across Europe. Each bone, each fragment of metal, tells a part of the story. Through DNA testing, long-lost soldiers have been reunited with their families, their spirits finally finding peace after generations of silence. One such discovery came in 2011, when a French dig site revealed the remains of an entire lost company, 250 soldiers buried together beneath the soil. Their uniforms still bore regimental patches. Letters and dog tags helped identify some, while others remain forever unknown. These discoveries remind us that war never truly ends. Its echoes live on in the dirt, in the ruins, and in the memories of those who still search. Ghosts of the trenches. Across Europe, stories persist of phantom battalions marching through the fog. Farmers have reported hearing distant drums at dawn. Visitors to Verdun claim to see flickering figures on the horizon, soldiers still keeping watch. Skeptics dismiss them as illusions. But for those who have felt the weight of the war-torn soil, the presence feels real, like history itself is trying to speak. The trenches may be silent now, but under that quiet lies a chorus of the lost, men who fought believing they'd return home, only to become part of the earth they once defended. The price of memory. In 1932, the U.S. built the Meuse Argonne American Cemetery in France. White crosses stretch across 130 acres, over 14,000 graves in perfect rows. Among them are empty spaces reserved for the missing, their names carved into stone. Visitors often leave notes, photos, and even small stones marked with words like, "Found at last." For many families, these cemeteries are the only place where memory lives. The Great War taught humanity a painful truth, that progress can destroy as easily as it builds. The missing soldiers, the nameless, faceless men lost in the chaos, remind us that even in death, their story must be told. Legacy of the lost more than a century later. The First World War feels distant, almost mythical. But every time a name is identified or a soldier's remains are brought home, the war becomes real again. These aren't just numbers in a book. They were sons, brothers, fathers, artists, poets, dreamers. Their loss shaped generations, their absence still echoing in the silence of old battlefields. We often talk about heroes who survived, but the true heart of history lies with those who didn't, the ones who vanished without a goodbye. The Eternal March. As the sun sets over the old front lines, the air grows still. The trenches have filled with grass, the guns are gone, but somewhere beneath, the lost soldiers remain, resting in the soil that remembers their names. Even when the world forgets, every rusted helmet unearthed, every faded photograph, every whisper in the wind, it's their way of saying, "We were here." If this story touched your heart, take a moment to remember them, the soldiers who never came home. Hit the like button, share this video so their stories are never forgotten, and subscribe for more untold history from the shadows of time.